Greetings, my friends. I am done typing Facebook posts because it's too easy to hide behind a computer. Even if you sign your name, because you always have that distancing ability to stay away from it. You think, I'm not actually right there in front of the person, so I can say whatever I want. We see all around the world when people are doing things they know are wrong, they hide their face, or they hide their name, or they disguise their voice. They don't want to be known who they are. That being said, I will be posting my posts in a more interactive form so that the reality and genuine care in my who I am and my voice and whatever you want to call it can come across instead of seeing me as some sort of ranting lunatic with all the words that you can see. And you can see that what I'm saying is based out of reality and love. That being said, I have a message for Democrats that they need to hear. Earth to Democrats, you need to listen to what I'm about to say. And if you don't, it means your attitude is garbage and you're going to get the grouch. If we want to unite Americans and defeat the MAGA cult movement that has given a complete madman and the ridiculous people that surround him ultimate power, well, even worse are the people that do surround him. They're the ones writing these insane, completely illegal executive orders, giving him even more power and just trying to make him feel good inside because you know that you can get anything from him by buttering him up. And as long as what you tell him to do causes the most chaos and the most outlandish type of things that happen, he's good with it. As long as it's on Fox News 24/7 and they're buttering him all up and saying, oh, he's doing this and oh, he's doing that. This guy is going to do everything in his power to not be held accountable. But we'll talk about that in a second. If we want to unite America under a real American government, we need to help the Republican Party get out of this mess. If we can give them a way to distance themselves from Trump, but not agreeing with the Democrats, because we all know that the worst thing in the mind of a diehard Republican is to ever agree on anything with a Democrat for some reason, then we find ourselves a way forward out of this mess. We need to stop associating MAGA with the genuine Republicans. As Democrats, we've proven time and time again that while the top of the party is they can seem like they're pretty corrupt and all about money, the majority of us will not abuse the governmental power that would be afforded to us. You never have to worry about a Democratic protest turning into a violent mosh pit of destruction and hate. The signs that I saw at the most recent protests were nonviolent, and the sentiment is of love and caring for others and wanting to make sure that others are cared for, which is the purpose of the government. If we keep this up, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot again, like we did by just being lazy and riding Obama's coattails for like 12 years, and then being doubly ridiculous and forcing Biden out when he won that debate. I mean, he won it. He was very slow and he probably shouldn't be president, but he won that debate. But they forced him out, and then instead of having a vote, they just gave everything to Harris. And I feel bad for Harris because she was probably not even planning on doing that. And all of a sudden the next day they're like, oh, hey, you're running for president, girl. And she's like, what? And I just think that it's insane that we would blame these certain people when the real issue is on the other side of the entire spectrum in general. Look, there's a newsflash, folks. The people that voted for Trump and are not racist jerks, they know they made a huge mistake. They know it. The real Republicans need an out, my friends. They need a way to save face and get out from under this oppressive thumb of Trumpism and violent rhetoric. They don't like it. I've heard it from people's mouths. They don't like it. And while he won the popular vote, he did not win more people voted against him than voted for him. So whenever anybody trying to use the logic, oh, the majority of people wanted this, that is complete and utter fallacy. And if the left would get together and stop fighting over their righteous causes and find an actual unity and unite and find a common broad brush of love in general to fall under and be like, hey, you know, this is good, so let's keep it this way, because if we don't find our, you know, stuff and get together, the other side hate is a broad brush, and it burns bright and it burns fast, and it works quite efficiently. Look, these Republicans would much rather go down with the ship rather than admit that the Democrats were right about Trump, and that the country would be prosperous and people would be getting along much better. There'd probably be a lot less hate crimes, and people are like, oh, why are people so upset? Why are people so angry? Why are people so violent these days? Because we have a guy promoting that stuff left and right. You know, of course, there'd be a small amount of, you know, the hateful Trump people protesting and pulling guns on each other like usual. But that's just how they do things. This whole approach, though, of shoving reality in their faces and trying to force them to come to terms with their mistake is not working. My friends, I have tried it. I have argued and yelled and screamed and been angry and spoken till I'm blue in the face. But when people don't want to listen to reality or logic and they can rationalize anything in the world, there's no getting through to them. So you can show people the truth. You can present graphs and charts and facts. Hey, listen up, buddy. This is the truth. But you can have people that were actually there and have firsthand knowledge, yet people still believe whatever story fits what they want to hear. Part of growing up and maturing, which is kind of silly that we have all these old people in office and they're all acting like big babies, is realizing that how we view the world when we're young and growing up is completely wrong. Whatever our notion is of what's right and wrong, we're somewhat okay with that. But what we view is how the world works. Some of us have such hardcore beliefs in things, that we're willing to get in a violent fight, even when people just mention some idea that doesn't go along with what we think is, what is real. And if people are willing to violently fight with you, even though there is truly zero proof or any legitimate reason to even believe what we believe, except that we were told to believe it by someone that we trusted or were brainwashed by, or a combination of the two, or we did it in order to fit in. How many times do people do things or act a certain way just so they can fit in? Because, my friends, it's true. We're all just trying to fit in and find some people that we can get along with. I wish that I could get across to the people that only think that they have to be in a gang or around with other people that hate on others in order to be part of a group or a team that's good. But that's not the case. You can be part of a healthy, good environment and it's not be, violent and brutal. I have yelled, I've called names, I've been sarcastic, I've been witty, humorous, I've been angry, exasperated. I've talked and talked and talked. I've listened and listened and listened. I've talked till I was blue in the face, and I've listened till I was blue in the ears, to no avail. Once the trumpets, I don't know if that's a mix of like a just about nothing but trump, 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 or a trumpet like a puppet, like a Trump puppet, get stuck on the idea, it is all in. So we need to stop looping the Magamites. I'm trying to come up with that. What's a good word for the Magamites, the Maga cultists, the Magians, the moccasins, the moccasins. I like that the better. The moccasins, because they're just being rude and they're screwing over the Indian people. Most likely, they would definitely do that. But anywho, the Republicans together, because when we do that, we're making them all into the enemy. I'll say that again. We need to stop looping the Magamites and Republicans, the real Republicans, together, because when we do that, we are making them all into the enemy. While we're not making them an enemy of us, By labeling it this way, we are making us an enemy of them, because in their eyes, it is far less damage to their collective psyches to be on Trump's side and have him be right than it is to be on the side of a blue-blooded, bleeding heart liberal. While I don't see anything wrong about caring about others, they have made an entire career and livelihood and network and just world movement and culture based on the idea that it is weak to care about others, especially if they don't look exactly like us. Not cool, folks. One thing we all have in common, though, is that none of us like to be wrong, and none of us like to be proven wrong in front of other people or to our own faces. It is using that concept that I'm proposing this olive branch of trust and acceptance, my friends. There comes a time in every person's life when you have to make a choice. Do I stand on the sidelines or do I get involved? Do I risk greatness for failure? Or do I risk nothing and live and die in mediocrity at best? I am choosing to be part of the solution, my friends. I have already been a part of the problem, and it did nothing but make my insides hurt and be miserable. It's true, misery delights in company, which is why you have so many of these miserable people out there causing a ruckus and promoting these types of things. But that is this exact misery that is the MAGA movement. The M should stand for misery. The call worship of a man who is so treasonous that he will still not admit he lost the election in 2020. He incited a riot, yes he did, and attempted to overthrow a fair election during the peaceful transfer of power, which is the cornerstone of our democracy and something that the world over strives to be. They killed police, then he pardoned them, and now they're all back out there causing a ruckus, going back to jail, or running for office. Great, right? Yeah. His fear of being held accountable for what he has done is what is driving all of this chaos, my friends. This is the reason that I am choosing to believe and I am searching for the real Republicans. My grandfather's Republican Party is who I am reaching an olive branch out to. The scariest part of all of this is the even greedier slime balls that are writing all of these executive orders that are illegal to try and skirt the system designed to keep the executive branch in check. We all know what the Constitution is. I handed them out at the protest because it needs to be read. Someone like J.D. Vance, who is a Marine veteran like myself, who has betrayed the very oath of that he swore to uphold and defend in the Constitution of the United States by scooting along with his slick words and his quick spinning of every subject because he is smart and he can make a smart person feel stupid. And these are the most dangerous people and the very reason why we need to be reaching out to good Americans as Democrats. If you are okay with this regime, then you clearly cannot think for yourself. If that stings, good. It should, because you're being taken for a ride. I'm not trying to take you for a ride. I'm not trying to trick you in anything or have you buy something from me or take money from me. I'm just telling you to be nice to people and vote accordingly. Doing all this crazy stuff to hurt people does not help you. That being said, I get it. It sucks that you were tricked. But screwing us all over for a fake chance at something that will never come, I mean, just look at the actual reality of things. Our economy is going to shit, and the only thing that they can say is, well, in order to fix the bad, we need to get worse. What? If the only thing you have to say about this comment is how corrupt Biden or Hillary were, or how bad they are at having a good economy, which a lot of people are like, it's the economy, stupid. We vote for this guy. He's a good businessman. No, he's not. He's a horrible businessman. Just look around right now. In 4 months, these fools in power have managed to destroy so much. Upend people's livelihoods, lost fine folks their jobs, and for what? I thought we were supposed to be making jobs as the president. They used to say, oh, I made this many jobs this quarter. If it makes you feel better when you see decent people lose things they worked hard for, you're an asshole. If you take joy in laughing when talking about Latino families being split up and people shipped off to countries they've never been to, all in the name of get them illegals out. You about get them illegals out now, I'll tell you what. That's ridiculous. You're an asshole and you're downright vindictive. These are not the real Republicans, my friends. These are not the people that will help save this nation. As Democrats, we need to be vocal about a couple things. The first thing being the trans issue. I get that there are individuals that may have a reason or a story that makes sense to do it, but there is no way that you can go around and say that you will allow anyone under the age of 18 to get hormone therapy for gender transitioning. Maybe on a case-to-case basis with lots of therapy and lots of intervention and lots of talking and lots of stuff. But to make that like a widespread issue, we're just like, well, this is the hill that I'm gonna die on. Pick your battles, people. How anyone can decide, what they're going to be or how they're going to be before they're completely developed. It's not something that you're going to get people to buy into. The microscopic number of people that this affects is not a big enough issue to upend the entire political platform of Democrats across the nation. We have to be forthcoming about finances. The insider trading that's being done at the heads of parties and inside and basically anyone elected getting rich as shit is not okay. It's bullshit, and it gives the MAGA people ammo to attack us. Is it fair that they can throw stones while living in a really, really, really thin pane glass house? No, but them being fair is never a thing that they're okay with. That is the hard part about taking the high road. Turning the other cheek. Jesus' love. It's not easy to love your enemy, right? But we have to turn our enemies into our friends. Or remember that the people we may view as our enemy right now have not always been that way. And on top of it all, we're all Americans. So we need to get back to this whole if you want to say America first, that means we join together as a united country. Look, it's not going to stop them, but their vote is worth just as much as someone who uses their brain to vote, right? So we can't keep giving the far right the angle in to attack and use our own party's words against us. This whole thing where each left-wing cause gets more righteous and inclusive than the next has a very, 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 very tiny segment of the population deciding how a very large section has to be. Does that remind you of something? Say maybe the 1% with all the money and influence over the rest of us? Yeah, there's hypocrisy to the max on both sides. However, the right side is much more violent, and the truth is much more further away than it is on the left. I mean, when you get both on the radical far ends of the spectrum, the truth is very far away on both sides. But it goes very quick if you're going to the right. But the answer, if you are upset about corruption on the left, the answer is not corruption more from the right. That's silly. So it's this entire concept that I am officially saying that Democrats do not support trans athletes being able to compete against those born of that sex. just make 2 new sections for people if it's really going to be that many people, right? Like just have 4 sections for athletes, whatever. That'd be way better off than having this huge argument and going back and forth about all that stuff. The idea that someone can be born with a penis and then slice it up and fold it in on itself and then take estrogen in order to grow breasts and stop facial hair, and then vice versa for people born as women, but now taking testosterone and chop their nipples off, is not something that you're going to get people to accept completely in a widespread thing, especially if you're telling them that their kids can have a sex change. It's just not going to fly, and it's destroying all the other messages of the party, even if that is not the exact message being said, right? So we know that people can nitpick words. I'm sure that people will nitpick these apart, and there'll be people out there that'll be like, oh, he's not a real Democrat because he said that. Get out of here. Even if that is not the exact message being said, it's close enough to the message that the propaganda jerks on the right can turn that into the biggest hot button issue in town. They do it all the time. They use these issues that are not really affecting that many, and they make it feel like it's affecting your kids, basically. So let's say this and be done with it for now. Can you not see that issue is what paved the way for them to overturn Roe v. Wade? Look, men do not like the idea that they don't have the market cornered on being men. I'll say it again. Men do not like the idea that they don't have the market cornered on being men. So if you can just wake up as a woman one day and say, you know what, I want to be a man, and then just do it with a little bit of surgery, a little snip, snip here, there, and there you go around the curve. Now you're a man. Oh boy. Can't you see why there'd be so much pushback on that? It makes being a man really not all that special. There's no way for a man to take meds or a surgery to allow them to carry and have babies. So there you have it, Republicans. I have just extended the biggest olive branch and admission of things that should be enough to get some people to be like, oh, okay. It should be plenty enough for old school Republicans to say, okay, these new Democrats also think that their party heads are sleazebag crooks, so let's join forces with them, fix this nonsense that's going on right now, impeach the president finally, hold him and J.D. Vance accountable for what they're doing, and, well, what he's doing to all of us, Republicans and Democrats alike. It's only a matter of time before they come after you, if it hasn't happened already. They don't value loyalty, and they won't have your back when the time comes. Hey, at least the Dems will give you help if you need it. Even if you don't. I would rather have a few folks that don't deserve something, right? I'd rather have a few folks that don't deserve something get it than one person that is deserving not. The same goes for jail and immigrants. If you are throwing one real American citizen out of the country, that's not okay. If you have one person that skips their due process, not okay. Our politicians need to know how to compromise. It is okay for us to be idealistic and yell and be angry at one another and spout our craziness, but our politicians need to be able to cross the aisle and work together, or America is done for, my friends. Falling apart from the inside. These same racist fools tried to destroy our country back during the Civil War. And we're going through it again. Racism, hate, propaganda, rhetoric, fear, envy. They're all rampant in the world, and they're rampant in this country. So let's go back to the was of thinking for ourselves. What can we do for our country? Let's go back to thinking that way. What can we do for our country and our world? Not what can our country do for you? The other side of that is when we cannot do for ourselves what we need, then our country and fellow country folk will do it. One last thing. Firing people as the first step when trying to fix fraud, waste, and abuse in the government is how corporations try to save stock prices for investors, and how they would try to do that to save money. America should not be a business. You cannot legislate love and human interaction. Being human and caring for one another is the way that we get through this. Not making jokes about things that are seriously affecting real people. That's a good start. The new Democratic Party of America is going to rise from the ashes of the corruption of the elected officials of the state and federal governments, my friend. I hope a lot of people out there can reach across your perspective aisle, reach across the aisle in your neighborhoods, reach across the aisle in the classroom, reach across the aisle at church, reach across the aisle at work, reach across the aisle, find those old school Republicans that want to bring back the Republican Party, that know what it means to choose democracy and the love of Christ over fascism. The Christian, they disguise their patriotism, their Christian hate is disguised as patriotism, right? When we can do this finally, then we will be on the right path for a new America that definitely needs to rise from the ashes of what's going on right now. Of the people, by the people, for the people. All of them. Not just the rich, not just the white, not just the white people who think they're going to be rich and are blindly loyal to a cult leader. God bless you all. God bless the United States of America.